Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 117, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. This week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, July 9th, 2021. And there's a big picture of a badger on the front page. It was taken by the Banner and Press photographer Kira Patterson recently. It was peeking out of its burrow at her, and this fluffy fellow was well prepared for a staring contest from a distance. Quit badgering me. Manitoba surpasses second vaccine milestone. Manitoba has hit its second vaccine milestone as part of its 4-3-2-1 Great Summer reopening path. As of Wednesday, July the 7th, more than 75% of eligible Manitobans have received at least one COVID-19 vaccine dose, and more than 53% of people have received both vaccine doses, nearly a month ahead of schedule. Premier Brian Pellister noted that the province-wide efforts to tackle vaccine hesitancy and encourage Manitobans to roll up their sleeves continues. He said once again Manitobans have responded in record numbers to do their part to roll up their sleeve and get vaccinated. As we look forward to regaining more of our freedoms this summer, as more and more Manitobans get fully vaccinated, the race against COVID is not over yet. We all have a part to play, and to anyone who still needs their first or second dose, I want you to know that we still need you in this monumental province-wide effort. Public health officials with the province have recommended that at least one incubation period should pass between changing public health orders. As a result, Premier Pellister has noted that new public health orders are expected to be unveiled next week to reflect the immunization milestones achieved and the state of COVID-19 in Manitoba at that time. He said, "We will have more to say on this in the coming days. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. I understand your impatience, I have it too. But I also understand that we have to be careful because we don't want a bounce back of COVID. We've had that before. Nobody should be claiming victory in the middle of the battle, and we're doing our best to stay focused on beating COVID." There's a new manager of operations settling into the position at the Yellowhead Center by Owen Devereaux. When the general public is eventually allowed back inside the Yellowhead Center in Neepawa, they'll be welcomed by a fresh new face running the facility's day-to-day operations. The Yellowhead Board of Directors recently confirmed that Lindsay Dahelos has been hired for the position of Director of Operations. She takes over the role that had been previously occupied by Chris Turner, who has moved on to a new career opportunity. A large part of the director's job focuses upon the scheduling of events, overseeing the financials, and general day-to-day workings of the facility. DeHalos comes into the job with her connection to the Yellowhead Center already well entrenched. Having grown up in Plumas, she had spent a fair amount of time on the Yellowhead ice as a hockey player, participating in several games and tournaments over the years. She would then move on to the University of Manitoba in 2016 to pursue a diploma from the Faculty of Kinesiology and Recreation Management. Her bachelor's degree would focus on the disciplines of recreation management and community development, which are a perfect fit for the operation of a sports arena and recreation/community hall. Yellowhead Centre Board President Brian McCannell said that they are very pleased with the addition of Dehelos to the team. The board was impressed with the passion she brings for sport and recreation and her commitment to the community. We feel like this is a good hire and we're looking forward to seeing some of the fresh ideas she brings to the job, said McCannell. In an interview with the Banner and Press earlier this week, Dehelos said that the timing could not have worked out more perfectly as she became aware of the job opening during her last week of studies at U of M. She thought, wow, what kind of timing is this? It's perfect. I could not have asked for a better opportunity to present itself at this point. The transition into her new role has been a bit different due to the ongoing situation with COVID-19 restrictions. Though summer is a lull period for activity within the arena, the Yellowhead Hall is usually much busier than it's been this year. Dehelos said the quieter than normal schedule has allowed her to ease into the job a bit more seamlessly. She said, with all this time I am learning the ropes, talking with people, getting ideas, and slowly learning. It's been good. We're still planning, though, for a hectic fall and winter. Brian McCannell and the rest of the Yellowhead Centre Board has been very helpful with that. They're very good to work with and very approachable. As for working with maintenance manager Mike Spees and his staff, it has also been very positive, with Dehelos adding that she and Mike have been getting along great. We talk a lot and bounce a few ideas off one another. He has shown me a lot of things around the rink, some of the technical and equipment components of the operations that I don't understand yet. We're working well together, I would say. And this article is about the second annual Dream Ride coming up this month by Kira Patterson. Fundraising for the second annual Dream Ride to help sick children's dreams come true is well underway. The ride benefits the Dream Factory, a Manitoba-based charity that offers kids with serious illnesses across the province the chance to live their dream. Last year, the inaugural Dream Ride saw 22 people participate, riding bikes in small groups through Riding Mountain National Park to raise over $20,000. This year, we're going to be doing the same thing, noted Marcia Forg, who is one of the Dream Ride organizers, along with her husband Gary and the Dream Factory. There's two route options, the 15 kilometers or the 43. And then, if riders do not want to do their own way, they could ride virtually that day on their own and do pledges. The date of the Dream Ride is slated for Saturday, July the 24th this year. Already the event has surpassed 2020's number of participants, with 29 riders registered as of July the 5th. The initial fundraising goal was set at $10,000, which they have already surpassed with over $13,000 as of July the 5th. Forg noted that their next goal for this year is to surpass last year's total of $22,195.81. We'd love to make or beat 2020, she expressed. The participating riders have been collecting pledges, while raffles and draws have also been taking place to help with the fundraising effort. Prizes have been donated by numerous businesses and individuals and have been offered for early registrants, for riders' fundraising goals, and for anyone donating pledges to the riders. Forg said that more winners will be picked as more prizes are donated. For people that have pledged, there will be random prize draws leading up to the event. To add even more to their final total, 50/50 tickets are now for sale, as well as merchandise featuring the Dream Ride 2021 logo. There is also a group that is planning to walk the 15-kilometer route, with all pledges gathered going to help rider Ken Pearson reach his personal fundraising goal of $5,000. Those who would like to pledge the Dream Walkers or join the group can contact Laurie McIntosh, who is organizing the walk. Last year's fundraising helped Logan Kilburn, a Neepawa resident who was diagnosed with cancer, realize his dream of visiting Disney parks. Because it went so well last year, we achieved that plus some other dreams, noted Forg. This year, the funds raised will be going to two sisters from Brandon, 2-year-old Aria and 4-year-old Bree, who have been diagnosed with metachromatic leukodystrophy, or MLD, and Ewing sarcoma, respectively. If we could make their dream and many other dreams come true, that would be great, expressed Forg. Those wanting to get involved with the 2021 Dream Ride, from making a donation to purchasing merchandise to registering as a rider, can visit the website at https://secure.qgiv.com/event/dreamride21/ or find the event page on Facebook titled Dream Ride 2021 in support of the Dream Factory. The Facebook event page also features information on some of the riders, the prize draws, the link to the 50/50 raffle, and more. Those who would like to purchase 50/50 tickets or make a donation but don't want to do so online can contact Gary or Marcia Forg by phoning 204-740-0166. That's Gary, or Marcia, 204-841-2051, or by email at gmforgue, F-O-R-G-U-E, at mymts.net. Helen Drysdale, out of Helen's Kitchen. This week's edition is entitled First Nations Veterans. And there's a picture of Tommy Prince. He was awarded 2 gallantry medals for his military service during World War II. Last week I talked about the veterans and the problems they faced upon returning from the World War I and World War II. The First Nation veterans had it even harder. During World War I, First Nations were exempted from draft because they were not considered citizens of Canada. The Indian Act restricted their rights, including the right to vote, as Canada viewed the First Nations as an inferior race. Despite this, over 4,000 First Nations people volunteered to serve their country. Their hunting skills, stealth, and endurance proved invaluable to the front line. Many became snipers as they were effective marksmen with patience, or they became scouts that went behind enemy lines to determine the enemy's position and strength. The war proved that the fighting spirit of my tribe was not squelched through reservation life. When duty called, we were there, and when we were called forth to fight for the cause of civilization, our people showed all the bravery of our warriors of old, stated Mike Mountain Horse, First World War veteran. Overseas in the front lines, they were accepted as equals. Exposed to new ideas and expectations, First Nation veterans were optimistic about receiving equality in Canada when they returned home. They soon found that the pensions and other rights that were given to non-First Nations veterans did not apply to them. They were wards of the government and therefore not entitled to any help from Veterans Affairs, as they already received help from the government. Nothing had changed. If they received any help financially, it was transferred to the Department of Indian Affairs for administration. The Department of Indian Affairs decided that the Indian character was incapable of handling their own affairs and doled out what and when they saw fit. The veterans who returned with weakened lungs because of mustard gas attacks were more susceptible to developing tuberculosis and other respiratory illnesses. Some came home with missing limbs, other injuries, and the Spanish flu. Like their non-First Nations veterans, many came home with the mental injury of war and faced alcohol addictions to dull that pain. The wives of these veterans struggled to survive when the men were away. When they came home wounded in body and spirit, without any aid from the government, things only got worse. Despite protests from the First Nations, Canada continued on with policies of discrimination and assimilation. When Canada declared war on Germany on September 10, 1939, well over 4,000 First Nations people responded to the call, fighting in every major battle and campaign of the conflict. Racism reared its ugly head when the Air Force had specified that recruits be of pure European descent, and the Royal Canadian Navy applicants were to be a British-born subject of a white race. This restriction was rescinded in 1940 for the Air Force and 1943 for the Navy. Highly decorated First Nations veteran from Manitoba, Sergeant Thomas Prince, stated that he wanted to show the Indians were as good as any white man. Show them he did. Tommy Prince became the most decorated Indigenous war veteran, whose medals included the Military Medal, the American Silver Star, and 6 service medals. Prince served with 1st Special Service Force that the German soldiers renamed the Devil's Brigade. When he came home, Prince fought for the rights of the First Nations. When he died in 1977, the decorated war hero was homeless. When the First Nations veterans returned home, they discovered they were no longer considered Indians because of the Indian Act stated that Indians away from the reserve for 4 years were no longer Indians. The Department of Veterans Affairs excluded First Nation veterans and their families from many of the post-war programs that they offered to the other returning veterans. At home, First Nations leaders argued that if our young men are good enough to wear the King's uniform, they should have the same civil rights and privileges as our white brothers have. Despite their contributions to the war effort, when their uniforms came off, in the words of one veteran, they were just another Indian. The lives of numerous Indigenous veterans ended in despair and poverty as they faced the atrocities of war without the needed support. While fighting overseas, the First Nation soldiers must have missed their traditional foods. In tribute to those brave veterans, from an important food source for prairie peoples is a Saskatoon recipe following. It's called Saskatoon puffed pancakes. Okay. A symbolic handprint is spreading across Neepawa by Casper Werhon. Residents and visitors may have noticed a change in Neepawa recently. On Saturday, July the 3rd, orange handprints sprung up around the community, predominantly on landmarks such as street light posts, signs, garbage, and recycle bins. The appearance of the handprints following the continuing discovery of unmarked graves of Indigenous children at residential school sites across Canada. The identity of the individuals who created the display are not known at this time. While the act is vandalism under the Criminal Code of Conduct, Neepawa Mayor Blake McCutcheon noted in a media release on the incident that due to the extenuating circumstances, the community leaders understand there is more significance behind the action. As we reflect on the recent and timely display of handprints in our community, we unselfishly begin to understand and acknowledge the enormity of ongoing discovery of children's remains at residential school sites across Canada, said McCutcheon. Moving forward, we all need to acknowledge the Indigenous children whose lives ended much too early and participate in the healing process for the survivors and their families. McCutcheon added, every community, large or small, must do its part. As for when the handprints will be cleared off the surfaces, town administration are unsure of an exact time frame for the removal. Council will likely discuss the matter at their next meeting scheduled for mid-July. McCutcheon indicated, however, that the handprints may gain a permanent place within the town. He said, in recognition of promoting and advancing the healing process, the town of Neepawa will be carefully considering the relocation of the symbolic handprints to a more honorable and respectful permanent site. According to an article posted by CTV News on July the 4th, the remains of over 1,300 Indigenous children have been found at the former residential school sites that have been searched thus far. Due to reports of incomplete records, the true number of deaths that occurred at these facilities may never be known. So here we have a picture of one handprint that can now be seen in Neepawa. The prints symbolizing the bodies of Indigenous children found at Canada's former residential schools recently can be found along Mountain Avenue. And here's another one. The orange handprints were placed on signs, lampposts, and recycling bins along Mountain Avenue. A wall along Home Hardware and the Churchill block also had single handprints placed on them. And here's a few pictures to see celebrating the end of an era. Here we have Carberry Collegiate graduates celebrating the end of their high school careers on Monday, June 28th, with a parade through the town. Pictured from left, okay, Zara Dixon. No, this is actually Hannah Ramsey. This is Zara Dixon. Annika Duguay, Jade Nakanekni, and Peyton Dixon. And here we have Erickson Collegiate celebrating their graduates with an outdoor ceremony on Monday, June the 28th. Here we have a graduate, Josie Sallows, with her parents, Tim and Sherry. And this is a picture of graduate Sarah Pagan Corshane with her sister, Dorothy. There. Neepawa Golf and Country Club looking forward to hosting Provincial Amateur Golf Championship by Owen Devereaux. The Neepawa Golf and Country Club is primed and ready to soon welcome and challenge the province's very best amateur golfers. The NOTT, N-O-T-T, Autocore Men's Amateur Championship is scheduled to take place in Neepawa from July 15th to the 18th. The tournament-style format will see 120 players play on the first and second day of the event, with the field being cut down to 60 for the final 2 days of competition. Neepawa previously hosted the men's amateur back in 2013. Our general manager and CPGA golf pro, Landon Cameron, said hosting an event of this caliber is a great chance to showcase both the course and the community. He noted that a lot of work has been ongoing over the last few weeks to make sure Neepawa is ready to go. The preparations, however, have not gone by without a few notable challenges. The first was all the uncertainty surrounding provincial COVID-19 restrictions. Cameron said that if the stringent provincial guidelines that had in place in May had remained, the tournament in its entirety could have been in jeopardy. There was some uncertainty, but the loosening of the restrictions has allowed us to open things up and get back some kind of normalcy. It'll allow us to golf in groups, and that makes the scheduling of start times for the players a bit easier. I'm not sure if there was any possible way under the previous restrictions to operate the men's amateur, but has opened us up and enabled us to move ahead on this tournament, said Cameron. Another concern over the last few weeks has been the hot, dry weather and its impact on the course itself. Cameron said the CGSA grounds superintendent, Mark, and the groundskeeping staff at the golf course have done an exceptional job considering the weather conditions. The dry conditions have made life a little bit more hectic for our maintenance crew. You can only irrigate what can be irrigated. Our sprinkler system is able to hit our fairways, greens, and tees to some of our roughs are a bit dry. Our guys, however, have done a great job of maintaining what they can maintain. And especially with some of the stuff we're trying to grow in, there's still repairs and upgrades being done to deal with the flood from last year, and they've done an exceptional job to get it to where it needs to be, Cameron stated. We've had a couple representatives with Golf Manitoba here recently who were just out for our senior tournament, just checking out the course, and they raved about how good it was after seeing pictures of how bad it was after the flood. Yeah, Mark Krukwich and his crew have done an exceptional job getting it to where it is now. Golf Manitoba is feeling really good about where we are at. They trust us to host events like this, and we always try to put on a pretty good show for them. And here we have a picture. Speaking of the golf course, somebody got a hole-in-one. Congratulations to Pat Andrews, who recently shot a hole-in-one at the Neepawa Golf and Country Club. Andrews' incredible accomplishment was during his round at the Neepawa Senior Open on hole number 4, which is a par 3, 148 yards. The feat was witnessed by Pat's son, Mike Andrews, and sons-in-laws, Dave Chiswick and Alan Sneesby. It was his first one ever hole-in-one. The 82-year-old Andrews ended up finishing up the round with a respectable 81 on the day. Congratulations, Pat. And for that tournament, it's got the results here. I won't read all the names, but I'll read who won each flight. Championship flight. First place, Troy Sambrook with a 74. First flight, first place, Darren Blake with an 81. Second flight, first place, Terry Susky with an 86 on a countback. Third flight, Jim McMunn with an 89 on a countback. Fourth flight, Dan Hakowicz, 93 with a countback. Fifth flight, Grant McKelvey, 95 with a countback. Sixth flight, Leonard Birch, 100 with a countback. Seventh flight, Ted Weeb, 108. Closest to the pin, obviously on number 4, it was Pat Andrews with the hole-in-one. On number 8, Al McManus, 15 inches. And on number 12 hole, Frank Perrotta, 45 inches. And speaking of golf again, Minnedosa hosts Westman Junior Golf Tour Tournament. Some of Western Manitoba's top teen golfers assembled in Minnedosa on Wednesday, June the 30th, for the start of the Westman Junior Golf Tour schedule. The one-day event at the Minnedosa Golf and Country Club featured competition in 3 different age categories: 12 and under, 14 and under, and 16 and under. Neepawa's Hayden Delaloy participated in the 16 and under competition, which featured a match play format with 7 head-to-head matches scheduled. In his matchup, Delaloy was able to defeat Foster Cuvier of Minnesota. Delaloy was also attributed with the longest drive of the event. Unfortunately, the Banner and Press was unable to confirm the distance of the drive by the publication deadline. Other local golfers who competed in the 16 and under category were Ethan Laliberty, Richard Everett, both of Minnedosa. They were defeated by Fox McCall of Elkhorn and Zos Jordani Gross from Brandon, respectively. In the 14 and under category, Jacobsen of Brandon was victorious, shooting a 5 over 77. Hunter Oakton, also of Brandon, won the 12 and under event with a round of 88. And for the Carberry, North Cypress, Langford page, Here and There by Gladwin Scott. The Carberry Sandhills Golf Course men's Men's Open and Ladies Open were held June 26th and 27th, with 51 men and 29 ladies participating. The winner of the championship flight was Derek Samagalski with a 72. The winner of the ladies' championship flight was Ruth Loney with an 85. The junior tournament, held on June 29th, had 45 participants. The low score for 11 and under was Dawson Smart, and Brady Turco had the low score for the 12 to 17 age group. Fashion 46 is a new clothing business located at 46 Main Street in Carberry, which opened June 16th. Erica Johnson, Nee Kulbaki, and her assistant Taryn Kearney, who both live in Carberry, are open for business Wednesday to Saturday, 11 to 7. Erica is supported by her husband and 3 children. Drop by and say hi, and here is a picture of Erica, the owner. Carson Unraw, age 16, Carberry Honor Roll student, has joined an elite club basketball team, Dime Team Canada, who will play in a 2-week tournament in Las Vegas, commencing July 12th. In his final game during the Provincial Junior Varsity Championship at the Cougar Dome, Carson fired 55 points during a 1-point win over Toulon Saints before the MHSAA shut down school sports March the 12th, 2020. Kim Adrianson reported that Griffin and Keys were the last of the Adrianson grandchildren who started kindergarten in 1989, 32 years ago, to graduate. Isla, the next generation, should start kindergarten in 2024. Former Reeve, Brad, and Brenda Wells have purchased 59 acres in southwest Carberry between 2nd Avenue and Higgins Drive. 25 of the 90 lots will be developed in Phase 1. Lots vary in size from 85 by 150 feet to 100 by 150 feet and will be available by 2022. Green space of 34,000 square feet will be donated to the town for everyone's enjoyment. This 3-phase development will have an economic spin-off for insurance agencies, grocery stores, lumber, hardware, building, electrical, and plumbing businesses, plus schools and hospitals. Further information is available from Brad Wells at 204-729-5558. New Killarney Turtle Mountain RM Mayor is Merv Tweed, who earned 668 votes, while Matthew Reimer recorded 493. Tweed is very experienced as a Conservative MLA in Turtle Mountain constituency, Brandon Suris MP, and 5 years with Omnitrax Rail Company in northern Manitoba. The campaign to replace 13-and-a-half-year veteran Rick Pauls was very cleanly run, as both men have great respect for each other. And last, Baseball Manitoba has announced that ball games are back for the 2021 season as of July the 5th, with some restrictions. Okay, so the Spruce Plains RCMP report for this week. During the week of June 28th to July the 4th, Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 50 police activities. On June 28th, RCMP conducted a COVID compliance check in the municipality of Glenella Lansdowne. All persons were found complying with quarantine regulations. Police conducted various traffic enforcement, engaging with several motorists. Tickets were issued for speeding and using a hand-operated electronic device while driving a vehicle. June 29th, RCMP received a report of an e-transfer fraud that occurred in the municipality of Glenella Lansdowne. The victim was reporting for information purposes, as their bank would be continuing the investigation. Police responded to a disturbance at a residence in Minnedosa. One person was arrested and taken into custody to remain until sober. June 30th, RCMP received a report of a vehicle hitting a deer in the municipality of Westlake Gladstone. The deer fled and the vehicle had to be towed as it was no longer drivable. Police assisted animal protection officials in Minnedosa with the seizure of an animal in distress. Police received report of a possible impaired driver in Minnedosa. There was insufficient evidence to proceed further with the matter. July 1st, RCMP responded to a report of threats being uttered in Minnedosa. After investigation, it was determined there was insufficient evidence to proceed further. Police were dispatched to a commercial alarm in Neepawa. Upon arrival, a contractor who had permission to be working inside the building was found to have tripped the alarm accidentally. July 2nd, RCMP received a report of fraud in Neepawa, and the matter is still under investigation. Police responded to a vehicle fire in Neepawa. Upon arrival, it was discovered that an animal transport semi-trailer was on fire. The fire department was able to extinguish the flames, and all animals on board were unharmed. July 3rd, RCMP conducted a check stop in Minnedosa, targeting impaired driving. Police checked numerous vehicles, and a mandatory alcohol screening device was used on several drivers. No impaired drivers were found. Police received a complaint of an erratic driver in the RM of Minto O'Donnell. Patrols were made, but the vehicle could not be located. July 4th, RCMP conducted another check stop, this time in the RM of Rosedale, also targeting impaired drivers. Police checked numerous vehicles and administered mandatory alcohol screening tests. No impaired drivers were found. Police conducted a COVID compliance check in Neepawa, and all persons were found complying with quarantine regulations. RCMP conducted 19 traffic enforcement actions during this reporting period. CCIB receives funds for history preservation. The Carberry Community in Bloom, CCIB, is receiving a funding boost. As part of the Manitoba government's Building Sustainable Communities program, it was announced on June the 18th via media release that a total of $3,317 would be given to the Community Improvement Group. This funding is being put forward to help with the costs of constructing a storage unit for the train luggage cart located at the CPR Park in Carberry. The luggage cart is completely original and had been used at the CPR station after its establishment in the town after its selection as a site in 1882. The cart was in the top of the museum. The fellas got it down for us, and that's what we want to build, a garage to cover it, said Mona Nelson, representative for CCIB. Because the suitcase, trunk, and so on that we have on it is very much affected by the rain, and the baggage cart is affected as well. The wood is deteriorating, so we want to protect it. Nelson noted that the park, the shelter located there, and the luggage cart are staples of the community. Both the shelter and the luggage cart have been widely used for grad pictures for a variety of other occasions and numerous events. Every Wednesday evening there's a farmer's market there. Now that things are opening up a bit, we're going to be able to start having different organizations holding barbecues along with the farmer's market, said Nelson. To preserve both the long-standing history the CPR Park alludes to in Manitoba's only heritage town and allow for continued use in events to come is precisely why the CCIB chose the garage project. The grant provided to the CCIB will cover approximately half of the projected cost, which totals $6,200. It really helps, Nelson noted in her final thoughts, and with COVID-19 going on, we haven't been able to have a meeting for a very long time, so most of it has just been by phone. But the volunteers have just been wonderful. I can't say enough to express how thankful I am for all they have done. The Carberry CPR Park is located just east of Main Street's south end, across from the town's municipal office. And here we have a picture of poppies in bloom. While these poppies sleep early in the morning, once the sun is out, they are bright and blooming in Community Garden near the Roxy Theatre in Neepawa. So check it out. And I'm going to read Rita Friesen's article entitled, "And So I Said Goodbye." Most of you know how important my dogs are to me, how they enrich my life with unreserved love and affection, how their needs prompt me to be more active and alert than I may otherwise be. Henry Hoover and Miss Daisy were litter mates, just turning 12 years old. It has been Miss Daisy that has needed the most care, has the most tummy troubles, has most food reactions, is the most reserved, and is also the louder one. She joined our home months later than her brother and bonded with Ed. Tolerated the rest of us. It was Hoover that needed to say goodbye. I have had other dogs, farm dogs, dogs that I loved fiercely. You know that farm dogs have a job to do, and you know that they don't live forever. Bojangles was an inside-outside dog, loved Fig Newton cookies and jelly beans, especially black ones. He had a repertoire of tricks, and at the crinkle of a cookie or candy wrapper, he spun through them all and waited for a reward. His death was unwarranted, his body found in a far field in spring with a wire twisted around his neck. He did not deserve that. He never wandered or intruded and was very kind and gentle. Determined not to have another dog, we resisted, until a stray appeared on a day when our youngest was home alone. When she called, checking in, she mentioned that the dog looked hungry. Asked what she found to feed him, she sheepishly admitted she thought a pound of hamburger, and he really liked it. Jojo stayed. Joe loved truck rides, willing to stand on the roof of the truck for the perfect view of what lay ahead. He also had a penchant for porcupines, knew the drill, open the car door and head for the vet. We had to be rather careful with him. One quill seemed to have snuck under the skin of his nose and headed to the brain. A jar to the head caused seizures, and being a car chaser, there were some close calls. Joe could tell time, waited for the school bus and his playmate every school day. Joe made the move from the farm to the acreage along with Flintstone, a border collie we inherited. They were great companions, learning to cross the highway by going through the culvert. There was the night the coyotes called him down the trail, and he never returned. Good dog, life well lived and well loved. Flintstone was with us for several years. He hated thunderstorms. He could break down a door to get into the house. Gentle through and through, loyal to his first family and accepting us as caregivers. Flintstone knew when it was Friday and the kids were coming out. One day, when he was old, he had an episode, and we called a vet to help him across the river. It was an honor to dig his grave. Henry Hoover did not suffer long. One morning I knew it was his time to leave. His eyes were clear, and his message was as well. And this time I cried, and I cried ugly. Okay, so the last article I'm going to read is by Ken Waddell. And he says the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as a view of the Banner and Press staff. Our knowledge of history, or more precisely our lack of knowledge, has come around to bite us big time. Take Bishop Grandin Boulevard in Winnipeg. I have studied a lot of history ever since my school days in the 50s and 60s. I can actually remember well over 60 years of history. That's what happens when you get older. That said, I hardly knew Bishop Grandin existed. before the South Winnipeg Highway was named after him. A quick check on Wikipedia shows Venerable Vital Justin Grandin, born 1829, died 1902, was a Roman Catholic priest and bishop that dedicated his life in the defense of the rights of the Native North Americans. He served the church in the western parts of what is now Canada both before and after Confederation. He is also the namesake or co-founder of various small communities and neighborhoods in the province of Alberta, Canada, especially those of Francophone residents. He felt that the traditional lifestyle of Canada's Indigenous people was going to end in extinction. He promoted residential schools. Whether his intentions were honorable or not, many aspects of the residential schools idea became a disaster. As we go through an ongoing review of our past mistakes, I am appalled by people who hate studying history but are shocked when their lack of knowledge of that same history ambushes them. I like history, and studying history is to know what shaped our country and why we do the things we do. We need to study our history and, more importantly, learn from our history. If we don't, we will keep on tearing huge holes in our social fabric as we repeat the mistakes of the past. There are realities that we need to recognize. All our past leaders had good points and bad. Some of the bad stuff was intentional. Some was by accident or flowed out of ignorance. Those realities apply to all leaders at all levels and in all groups. We need to study our history with a view to learning from it. Here are some examples. Our Prime Minister, our first Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald, was an ambitious visionary. Without his vision and drive, we would all be deciding today if we were Democrats or Republicans. Check it out. It's true. We almost didn't make it as a country. Macdonald was an alcoholic. It's been joked that if his statues drank as much as he did, they would fall over on their own. In the course of his very long political career, he also did some very sketchy things. Look it up. His most famous successor, Wilfrid Laurier, was far from perfect. Louis Riel was a great visionary, a man of strong Catholic Christian faith. He did great things and some bad stuff too. You can review the whole history of Canada, and not one person, not one, is totally pure. Whether it be motives or actions, there were flaws. I face my own flaws every day. It's a struggle. Our country is no different. God gives us a new day every morning, and we need to both examine and honor our past as individuals and as a nation. And in doing so, we will learn from the past so we have a better future together. We need to engage with each other, learn from each other. Bickering, yelling, burning churches, tearing down people or statues only hinders us as we proceed. Let's learn from our past, the good and the bad, and then live abundantly in the future so that we can have a future. So that is this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. I'm glad you could join us, and hopefully we will see you again next time. Bye for now.